The moment everything shifted, the instant you walked into the room, the atmosphere changed. Not gradually, not in subtle whispers that barely register, but in a way that made every person there pause, even if only for a heartbeat. There was a gravitational pull to your presence that drew attention without any apparent effort, an invisible force that demanded to be acknowledged. People did not merely glance your direction. They felt something in their chest, in the quickened rhythm of their pulse, in the sudden awareness that something fundamental had shifted. Eyes tracked your movement without conscious decision. Conversations stalled mid-sentence, and a quiet tension spread through the space like rings moving outward from a stone dropped in still water. This was not about what you said or what you wore. This had nothing to do with appearances or practiced gestures. It was something far deeper, something woven into the very fabric of who you are. Others sensed certainty in you, a calm self-assurance that was neither loud nor aggressive, yet impossible to overlook. It was the kind of presence that made ordinary moments feel charged with meaning. Doors seemed to open more readily. Chairs turned toward you before you even approached. The energy of the entire room leaned in your direction. In that still, electric pause, a collective awareness stirred among those around you. They did not merely notice your entrance, they perceived potential. They recognized authority, though not the kind that is bestowed through titles or enforced by protocol. This was the kind that radiates naturally from someone who moves in harmony with themselves. Something in the atmosphere communicated without words. This person moves with purpose. This person knows exactly where they are going. That recognition unsettled them deeply. Because most people navigate life through patterns they can predict, relying on scripts they can anticipate and control. They expect others to follow familiar routines, to fit within the boxes they have carefully constructed. And when someone enters a space with absolute clarity and quiet confidence, it disrupts the rhythm they depend on. A subtle anxiety rises when the expectations they have built begin to collapse. You did not ask for permission to be there. You did not seek approval from anyone. You did not follow the expected script. And in that refusal to conform, you generated a ripple effect, soft in execution but undeniable in its impact. People felt it immediately, not through intellectual analysis but through pure instinct. The room registered competence, timing, precision, and composure all at once. The energy you carried communicated a language beyond words, a silent assertion that you belonged exactly where you were, that your actions were carefully calibrated, and that outcomes were already beginning to bend toward your vision. It was unmistakable, and when others recognized this reality, a strange tension filled the air. Because when someone embodies this kind of quiet power, it reveals the gaps in everyone else's preparation, the fractures in their own perceived authority, and the illusions they have been holding onto. They realized all at once that this was not ordinary presence. This was someone who could not be overlooked, someone whose influence would begin shaping events before anyone else even had a chance to make a move. The anxiety was not personal, it was primal. A survival response to witnessing clarity and capability that shattered the comfortable status quo. And while others stumbled, whispered nervously, and frantically recalculated their next move, you moved through the room unaffected, unshaken, and unstoppable. The moment had arrived, and everyone present understood instinctively the fundamental truth. This was someone different, someone who shifts outcomes simply by being fully present, fully aligned, and completely authentic. The essence of authentic presence, true recognition, does not come from flashy gestures or rehearsed charm. It cannot be manufactured through clever slogans, careful appearances, or artificial confidence. It emerges from an invisible harmony between who you are internally, what you believe at your core, and how you actually conduct yourself in the world. It is the seamless integration of values, intentions, and actions that creates a resonance people can feel but struggle to articulate in words. When every thought, decision, and movement aligns with a core purpose, it produces an inner coherence that radiates outward, touching everyone around you in ways they may not consciously understand. People sense it immediately, and it triggers something primal within them: deep respect, rapt attention, and sometimes a sense of wonder. This has nothing to do with being louder than everyone else in the room or demanding recognition through proclamation. It is about existing in a state so consistent and powerful that the world responds naturally to who you are. This recognition does not require lengthy explanation or justification. You do not have to prove your worth or constantly validate your place. People notice the subtle indicators, the steadiness in your voice, the precision of your actions, the complete absence of uncertainty in how you carry yourself. Every step, every look, every pause communicates competence and integrity without a single word being spoken. and that communication is felt more deeply than it is intellectually analyzed. The human mind is exquisitely attuned to detect coherence, efficiency, and vision, often before conscious thought even registers what it has observed. When someone moves in total harmony with themselves, others sense the shift in energy, the clarity of purpose, and the certainty behind every decision. They feel it in the tension of the room, in the sudden pause of conversation, in the dawning awareness that someone has arrived who cannot be measured by ordinary standards. It is neither charisma nor fortune that sets truly influential people apart. Charisma can be cultivated and performed, and luck can be recreated in stories and myths, but authentic alignment cannot be taught. It comes from a profound understanding of your own principles and the courage to act according to them consistently, regardless of circumstances. It is born from disciplined practice, honest reflection, and the willingness to face uncertainty with calm, deliberate action. When your internal world is orderly, intentional, and synchronized, the external world responds accordingly. People notice the subtle mastery in both thought and action, even when they cannot pinpoint exactly why. They recognize the harmony between words, intentions, and actual results. That recognition sparks acknowledgement without debate, genuine admiration without envy, and sometimes an inexplicable unease without clear cause. Being recognized as someone of significance also carries a magnetic quality that attracts both supporters and challengers alike. Those who resonate with your clarity feel drawn toward your orbit. They sense an opportunity to learn, to align themselves with purpose, or to be guided by someone who moves with clear intention. Those who feel threatened by your presence experience discomfort, a clash with their own expectations, a challenge to the narratives they have constructed about power and influence. Both reactions confirm the same fundamental truth. Alignment does not ask for permission, and it does not wait for validation from others. It simply exists with quiet certainty. And its presence is impossible to deny. Recognition is instinctive, and it is absolute. People either notice it and feel compelled to follow, or they notice it and experience anxiety. There is no middle ground, no space for subtle misunderstanding. The reason this presence is so unmistakable is that aligned individuals communicate authority without announcement, coherence without explanation, and power without ever claiming it. When you are fully integrated, completely authentic, and intentionally directed, the world has no choice but to respond. And everyone senses immediately, this is someone who cannot be overlooked. Understanding the reaction you create, the response you provoke in others is never accidental or random. It functions as a mirror held up to everyone in the room, reflecting the cracks in the control they believed they possessed. Most people navigate life through carefully constructed narratives, mental scripts they have memorized, roles they have rehearsed, and boundaries they have learned to enforce. These frameworks make existence feel predictable and safe, allowing them to manage outcomes without having to confront the terrifying uncertainty of the unknown. But when someone enters who refuses to follow these expected patterns, who moves with clarity and precision that cannot be contained by their assumptions, the foundation begins to shake. The illusion of control, so meticulously maintained through years of careful practice, starts to crumble, and unease seeps through the space like smoke spreading through dry grass. This is not personal, it is fundamentally existential. People are startled because the rules they have relied upon to navigate life suddenly appear irrelevant. This reaction emerges from the intense tension between expectation and hard reality. Every person in the room carries a mental map of how interactions should unfold, how influence should be distributed, and how outcomes should unfold according to predictable patterns. They have rehearsed their responses, calculated power dynamics, and established their own measures of competence. Then you arrive, without asking permission, without validating their assumptions, without playing the role they expected you to play. You are the variable they cannot account for, the presence that defies easy categorization. Their mental scripts fail, their careful calculations crumble, and suddenly the safety they have relied upon vanishes. The discomfort is immediate, visceral, and spreads through the room like a subtle contagion. The mind struggles to process what it is witnessing. The body reacts instinctively, and a quiet collective anxiety emerges that is difficult to name or explain. It is not simply the unpredictability of your actions that triggers this fear. It is the clarity of your purpose and the unmistakable sense of competence that radiates from you. When someone moves in harmony with their own principles and acts with decisive intention, it reveals hesitation, inconsistency, and indecision in everyone else. It is like holding a spotlight up to the vulnerabilities others try to hide behind. Flaws they have pretended were invisible suddenly become glaringly obvious. This exposure is deeply uncomfortable because it threatens their carefully constructed sense of security and superiority. Those who have relied on manipulating their environment or carefully controlling perceptions suddenly feel exposed and vulnerable. They feel the weight of reality pressing against the fragile structures they have built to maintain dominance, influence, and respect. The anxiety is also fueled by instinctive recognition at a primal level. The human mind is hardwired to detect competence and quiet dominance even before conscious thought registers it. When precision, foresight, and composure converge in one individual, it triggers both instinctive respect and an undercurrent of fear. Those who understand what they are witnessing may instinctively reassess their strategy, hesitate before acting, or quietly retreat from direct confrontation. Those who feel threatened may react defensively, attempting to regain control or undermine the source of their discomfort. This duality, the pull of attraction and the push of resistance, is a signature response to someone operating beyond ordinary expectations. Someone who has aligned their inner world with the demands of the external moment so seamlessly that it commands attention from everyone present. The intensity of this reaction is heightened by the fact that it is silent but palpable. No grand announcement is made. No proclamation of authority is required. It exists in the subtleties, the timing of a glance, the steadiness of a stance, the calm decisiveness of a choice made without hesitation. And because this recognition operates at an instinctive level, it bypasses reason entirely. People feel it before they can think through what they are experiencing. And by the time logic attempts to intervene and make sense of what has occurred, the awareness is already embedded in the collective consciousness of everyone in the room. They cannot ignore it. They cannot rationalize it away through convenient explanations. The anxiety, the awe, and the unspoken acknowledgement all emerge naturally as a response to the undeniable presence of someone who refuses to conform, someone whose alignment with their own purpose is absolute and unshakable. The psychology of instant recognition is rarely a conscious, deliberate process. It bypasses intellect entirely and engages instinct, perception, and intuition at a deeper level. The human mind is constantly scanning for patterns, analyzing competence and detecting alignment in ways that are subtle but unavoidable. When someone operates with clarity, precision, and foresight, the brain registers this almost automatically. It does not need explanations, impressive titles, or external endorsements to reach its conclusions. Timing, composure, and unspoken authority communicate far more effectively than words, creating a resonance that signals capability at a deep, primal level that others may not be able to articulate even to themselves. But they feel it deeply, and their responses are immediate, often unfiltered, and profoundly revealing of what is happening at an unconscious level. Confidence communicates itself through action rather than through declaration. It is reflected in decisions made at exactly the right moment, in choices that anticipate consequences before they fully emerge, in calmness under pressure that signals genuine mastery over both self and circumstance. The mind instinctively recognizes efficiency of thought, precision of execution, and the subtle command over chaos that this produces. This is why recognition arrives instantly, without the need for lengthy observation or careful evaluation. It is not a matter of personal admiration or subjective opinion. It is an unconscious assessment of alignment between intention and outcome. When someone embodies this quality, power asserts itself naturally, without any need to announce itself or demand acknowledgement from others. Authority emerges because the mind instinctively trusts the signals it is receiving, even when it cannot yet define or explain exactly what it is perceiving. Psychology helps explain why this recognition can feel unsettling to those who experience it. Humans are accustomed to measuring capability through familiar metrics: official titles, careful appearances, impressive networks, or various status markers that society has agreed to recognize. When someone defies these conventional measures and demonstrates authentic power through alignment and composure instead, it disrupts established mental models that people have relied upon for security. Observers feel a tension between what they expected to find and what they are actually experiencing, and that tension manifests as subtle unease, quiet amazement, or even outright anxiety. The mind senses that this individual operates on a different level, outside the usual rules that govern ordinary interactions. And this perception triggers instinctive responses that are not chosen but emerge automatically: respect, heightened alertness, or cautious concern. Timing plays a crucial role in how recognition manifests. Decisions made too early or too late lose their impact and fail to produce the desired effect. But when action arrives at precisely the optimal moment, it signals mastery of both the external environment and the internal self. Others respond to that timing on a subconscious level, experiencing a complex mixture of fascination and apprehension that they may not fully understand. Composure amplifies the overall effect dramatically. A steady presence in the face of pressure conveys mastery over both internal and external chaos, signaling reliability, confidence, and authentic authority to everyone who observes. And when composure aligns perfectly with impeccable timing and decisive action, the individual becomes impossible to ignore or dismiss. Recognition, in this sense, represents the psychological reaction to someone who embodies the intersection of genuine capability, clear vision, and calm resolve. Unspoken authority represents the final critical element. It does not demand validation from others, yet it is undeniably felt by everyone present. It is expressed through posture, through gaze, through gestures, and even through strategic silence. This authority operates beneath conscious awareness, compelling attention and shaping perception without effort or overt proclamation. The human psyche reacts instinctively to these signals, reading them as markers of genuine competence and authentic alignment. Once these signals are detected, a powerful feedback loop begins to emerge and strengthen. Presence commands recognition. Recognition reinforces confidence, and confidence further amplifies the perception of authority. In this way, psychology explains not only why people notice, but why they respond so instinctively to someone operating beyond the ordinary thresholds of alignment, action, and awareness. Why awareness arrives immediately the moment your presence was fully registered, it became impossible to overlook or dismiss. People do not require extended periods of observation to recognize genuine capability. Their minds are constantly scanning for patterns, analyzing outcomes, and measuring impacts, often without any conscious effort on their part. When someone consistently produces results that defy expectations, predicts consequences with remarkable accuracy, and moves with calm authority, recognition happens instantly. It is a sudden clarity, a visceral understanding that this person operates on an entirely different wavelength, that their influence is real, precise, and somehow inevitable. This is not learned respect that develops over time through careful observation. It is instinctive acknowledgement of a force that transcends ordinary comprehension. Others watched you closely, more closely than you might have imagined. Every interaction, every decision, every subtle movement was processed and compared against their past experiences, against the rules they believed governed success and influence. And in each comparison, the same pattern emerged: genuine competence, clear foresight, and perfect alignment. There was no doubt, no hesitation in their perception. Your presence, your timing, your vision, all of it registered as evidence of someone who does not merely participate in outcomes, but actively shapes them. The recognition was immediate because it was rooted in observable evidence, unspoken but absolutely undeniable. And the human mind simply cannot ignore the evidence of true mastery when it is presented so clearly. Impact is measured in actual outcomes, not in stated intentions. People pay attention to results because results represent the most honest form of communication available. When someone consistently generates outcomes that exceed all reasonable expectations, it signals something far more significant than mere skill. It signals deep understanding, authentic vision, and genuine authority. They compared these concrete results against their own assumptions, predictions, and personal expectations. And in that comparison, your presence completely eclipsed everything else. You did not have to speak, justify, or explain yourself at length. The mind observes carefully and reaches its conclusions. This is someone who operates beyond ordinary standards. This is someone whose actions carry genuine weight not because of impressive titles or public acclaim, but because of precision, insight, and flawless execution. Intelligence also plays a subtle but powerful role in this recognition. It is not the kind measured through standardized tests or academic accolades. It is practical, applied intelligence, the kind that reads a situation before it fully unfolds, anticipates the various variables that will come into play, and executes with timing that cannot be improved upon. Observers felt this quality in your actions, in the decisions made before they were even aware that a challenge existed. This foresight creates a powerful psychological impact, an acknowledgement that they are witnessing something genuinely rare, something that cannot be casually replicated, and something that demands their full attention. It is a quiet revelation that this individual is not ordinary, that the ordinary measures of competence simply do not apply. The combination of presence, foresight, and measurable impact creates an inescapable reality that others cannot avoid acknowledging. Recognition does not require explanation or lengthy debate. It occurs as an immediate, instinctive conclusion that settles into the awareness of everyone present. The energy in the room shifts subtly but perceptibly as minds process what cannot be denied. There is a moment of collective pause, an unconscious recalibration, as everyone around senses that they are in the presence of someone exceptional. This awareness does not depend on spoken words or formal announcements. It relies on observable patterns, measurable results, and the natural human perception of genuine competence. In that instant, everyone knew without needing external confirmation. This is someone who transcends expectation, whose presence commands attention, and whose influence begins shaping outcomes before any action has even formally begun. The clarity of this recognition is immediate because it is rooted in direct observation, primal instinct, and undeniable alignment between action and stated purpose. The responsibility of being seen differently, being recognized as someone of significance, is not a label that can be handed down by others or a title you can arbitrarily claim for yourself. It is a profound responsibility that comes with increased visibility, real influence, and the silent but heavy weight of expectation. When your presence disrupts the ordinary flow of things, when clarity and precision radiate from everything you do, people instinctively watch, listen carefully, and measure every move you make against their own standards. That recognition carries significant consequences that cannot be ignored. Every decision you make, every reaction you have, and every choice you face is amplified in importance. This happens not because you actively seek attention, but because the alignment you embody naturally draws it toward you in ways that cannot be controlled or redirected. Operating effectively in this space requires a level of awareness and discipline that goes far beyond mere performance. It demands mastery over both your internal state and your external influence. Acting wisely becomes absolutely non-negotiable in this position. Decisions cannot be reactive or impulsive. When you are someone that others instinctively follow or instinctively resist, every single action sends a signal that others will interpret carefully. Your actions demonstrate whether you are genuinely grounded in principle or merely swayed by circumstances and pressure. The clarity of your judgment, your ability to foresee how situations will develop, and the composure you maintain when navigating unforeseen challenges become your essential tools for sustaining alignment. Those around you are not just passively observing, they are actively internalizing what they see, comparing your approach to their own, and often unconsciously modeling their behavior after yours. Your responsibility is to act with unwavering integrity, to move with decisiveness, and to uphold the standard that has already been silently acknowledged by everyone present. Maintaining clarity amid chaos is equally crucial in this role. The world rarely presents situations that are straightforward or simple to navigate. Uncertainty, unpredictability, and direct conflict are constants that will appear regularly. And the true measure of someone who genuinely commands recognition is not the absence of challenge, but the ability to maintain focus, calm, and clear direction precisely when challenges arise. People notice hesitation and inconsistency far more quickly than they notice eloquence or surface charm. When your vision remains sharp and your actions deliberately paced, it communicates a stability that reassures those who follow you and commands genuine respect from those who might challenge you. Your presence becomes a reference point, a quiet compass in environments where confusion and doubt are the prevailing conditions. Navigating resistance represents another critical dimension of this responsibility. Not everyone will welcome the recognition you naturally receive. Some will feel genuinely threatened, challenged in ways that make them uncomfortable, or exposed by the contrast between your clarity and their own uncertainty. They may attempt to undermine your position, create distractions, or manipulate situations in ways designed to help them regain a sense of control that your presence has disrupted. Your role in these situations is not to react emotionally or defensively, but to respond with composure and clear discernment. Observing resistance without losing your center, meeting opposition with strategic thought rather than impulsive reaction, and understanding that tension is an inevitable response to genuine influence. These are all essential capabilities for sustaining your position and continuing to shape outcomes effectively. The recognition that accompanies being seen as someone different is both a gift and a fundamental test. It opens doors to genuine opportunities to lead, guide, and influence others in meaningful ways. But it also places you under a kind of magnifying glass where every misstep, every moment of hesitation, and every compromise is clearly visible, often magnified far beyond what others might actually perceive. The key insight here is that true influence is not about control over others. It is about consistency, alignment, and the quiet authority that emerges naturally when internal coherence meets external action. Those who recognize your capability will either align themselves with it or actively resist it. And how you navigate both reactions determines the ultimate scope and impact of your influence. Being recognized as someone of significance is ultimately about sustaining presence, maintaining clarity, and protecting your integrity in every action you take. It requires understanding that your influence is as real as it is immediate, and that your responsibility is ongoing, constant, and completely unavoidable. Everyone reacted strongly because they sensed the truth, even if they could not fully articulate why they felt what they felt. It was never about words, titles, or surface appearances. It was fundamentally about alignment, precision, and the sense of inevitability that you carried with you. You moved through the room as if time itself bent slightly around your passage, each step purposeful, each gesture measured with intention, each glance deliberate and meaningful. There was no need to speak loudly or claim authority because the energy you carried communicated far more effectively than language ever could. People felt it in the tension of their own bodies, in the unexpected pause in their thoughts, in the quiet awareness that something fundamental had shifted in the space around them. The anxiety others experienced was a reflection of the recognition that the control they had imagined possessing no longer existed in quite the same way. You had arrived, fully present, fully aligned, and completely impossible to overlook. This truth is uncomfortable for many people because it disrupts their most basic assumptions about how the world works. They expect reality to operate on patterns they understand, within scripts they can anticipate and manipulate. When someone steps completely outside those expectations, someone whose clarity, confidence, and composure radiate effortlessly, it forces them to confront their own limitations in ways they may not be prepared to face. They realize that their careful calculations, their strategic approaches, and even their sense of personal authority are insufficient against someone who acts from genuine alignment rather than mere assertion. And yet this is precisely the moment when your responsibility intensifies and becomes more demanding. Being someone of significance is not a passive state that you simply occupy. It is an active force that requires constant awareness, disciplined action, and the steady exercise of sound judgment. Your actions ripple outward in ways you may never fully observe, shaping outcomes in ways others may never completely understand. Your presence becomes a quiet instrument of change, influencing events without requiring overt effort or deliberate manipulation. People respond instinctively to the alignment you embody. Some are drawn toward it, sensing opportunity, potential guidance, or genuine inspiration. Others resist, feeling exposed, threatened, or simply unprepared to confront the reality of your presence. Both reactions are completely inevitable. Both serve important purposes in the larger picture. Followers are attracted because your clarity and decisiveness offer a reference point, a living model of what becomes possible when inner coherence meets decisive action. Challengers react because they are forced to confront the gap between their own intentions and your actual execution. The measure of someone who truly commands recognition lies in how they navigate both forces, drawing others in without resorting to coercion, maintaining composure amid resistance, and continuing to act with precision even when being observed, tested, or directly opposed. The essence of this influence lies not in manipulation or theatrical performance, but in absolute authenticity and genuine alignment. When values, intentions, and actions converge completely, they produce a presence that communicates certainty and authority without requiring any explanation. People sense this instinctively because the human mind is exquisitely designed to detect coherence, competence, and authentic foresight. They may not be able to articulate exactly why they recognize you, but the impact of that recognition is undeniable. Timing, composure, and unspoken authority work together to create an influence that cannot be dismissed or ignored. It is quiet yet commanding, subtle yet absolutely certain, and it shapes the environment around you before conscious thought even has a chance to process what is happening. Recognition, in this sense, is both immediate and unavoidable for those who possess it. As you move forward through your journey, it becomes increasingly clear that being someone of significance is about far more than simply being recognized. It is about responsibility, about genuine influence, and about the ongoing exercise of intentional action in every moment. Your presence alone alters the dynamics in every environment you enter. The choices you make, the calm you maintain, and the precision with which you act set standards for others, create paths that did not previously exist, and define outcomes in ways that shape the future. People instinctively notice, analyze, and respond to your alignment with your own stated values. And that response will continue to unfold in ways you may never fully observe, long after you have moved through any particular room or situation. Anxiety may arise in others, genuine admiration may follow, and determined resistance may challenge you along the way. But none of these reactions diminishes the fundamental truth of who you are and what you represent. You shape reality simply by being fully present, fully intentional, and completely yourself. The ultimate truth that emerges from all of this is both simple and profound. External approval is irrelevant to your journey. Recognition is inevitable when you possess genuine alignment. Influence is simply a natural byproduct of living in harmony with your deepest values. And while others may experience anxiety, engage in endless debate, or actively resist what you represent, your path remains clear, your purpose remains unshaken, and your actions remain decisive. You move forward not because others have granted you permission, or because they fully understand what you are doing, but because you are grounded in the reality of your own authentic presence. You are aligned with your deepest values. You are precise in your actions and intentions. You are someone who quietly but inevitably changes outcomes simply by being fully present and completely yourself. And that is a truth that no reaction, no doubt, and no challenge will ever be able to alter or diminish.